So I've probably watched every single video regarding ungating on YouTube just to see if anyone's giving you the information I'm going to give you in this video. Unfortunately, most of those videos are either stating the obvious that everybody already knows, or they're promoting an ungating service. In this video, I'm going to show you a bunch of different things that no one else will tell you about ungating that will help you get ungated on your first try. What's going on, everybody? Marvin here. Welcome back to another video. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications so you don't miss any videos that I post, and make sure to tap the like button if you like these kinds of videos so that I can keep making them. Now make sure to stay until the end so you can get all the tips that I'm going to give you regarding ungating, because you do want to get ungated on the first try. You don't want to get rejected and denied by Amazon and then have to resubmit everything. So make sure you stay until the end so you get all the tips so you can get ungated with one try. Now let's get into the mystery that is ungating on Amazon. If you're unfamiliar on what ungating is, it's simply just restrictions that Amazon has put on either products, categories, or subcategories, preventing new sellers from selling them at the moment. There are four main ways that you can be gated on Amazon. The first one is being gated in a brand. These are brands that everyone knows: Hasbro, Mattel, Sony, Microsoft, but they can also be brands that are less popular. Now, when it comes to ungating in these brands, most people think that you just need to submit your invoice, whatever that invoice may say, and you're gonna be good to go, which isn't the case. There are more things that you need to know if you wanna get ungated right off the bat. So again, make sure to stay until the end so you'll be good to go. The second way you can be gated on Amazon is through gated ASIN. An ASIN, if you're unfamiliar, is just Amazon's identifier. It's like a UPC code, a universal product code, but it's Amazon's way of identifying each product in their catalog. Now, a gated ASIN is just a single product that is restricted for whatever reason. Sometimes to get ungated in that ASIN, all you need is an invoice, and sometimes you need a little bit more. Now, the third and fourth way that you can be gated on Amazon is through subcategories and categories. Now, people get confused and interchange these all the time, but let me give you an example so you understand it. So let's take the toys and games subcategory. Now, you're ungated in the toys and games subcategory, and you find a toy and it's very profitable and you want to go sell it. So you go list it and try to add it to your inventory, and then you find out you're gated, right? That's because you're gated under the toys subcategory, okay? And sometimes you'll be gated in categories and sometimes you'll be gated in subcategories, but you need to be ungated in both if you want to be able to sell. A lot of times it's one or the other, okay? There are three ways that you can get ungated in a category or a subcategory. The first one is you ungate yourself. Now, this can be appealing to people because they think it's not going to be very difficult, but it actually is difficult. It's difficult to round up all of these documents and get everything in line for Amazon. And a lot of times when you do get everything in line, they're still going to deny you. I think it's difficult to get all of these things by design because they want to make sure only legitimate sellers are getting ungated or are ungating themselves in order to sell these more popular categories or subcategories. But with that being said, nothing's impossible. You can get it done. People have gotten it done. The second way is to pay to play, pay an ungating service to help you ungate yourself in whatever category or subcategory that you want to get into. Probably the most popular and reputable ungating service is the Funnel Guru. An important thing to know is that you will not only have to pay for the ungating service fee, which varies from category to category, but you will also have to pay to get the product from the supplier that they're going to tell you to go to. So make sure you know that. Now, with that being said, if you're interested in getting ungated in the toys subcategory specifically, which is one of the most popular subcategories to get into, it's very profitable, then make sure to check the first link in the description. I included in my newly updated course. I learned how to ungate myself in the toys subcategory a long time ago, and I show you exactly what I did so you can follow the same formula and get the same results. Now, the third way to get ungated is through auto-ungating. This is probably the most appealing method for getting ungated just because it requires no money. It requires you to do nothing but apply to get ungated. You don't have to gather any documents. You don't have to go back and forth with Amazon. None of that. The only problem is that there's not a lot of information about how to get ungated. Some people think you sell well for 3 months, you'll get auto-ungated. Some people think it's 6 months or a year. We don't know. And because there's not a lot of information on it, there's no concrete information, not a lot of people make it to get auto-ungated. Now, like I said, there's a lot of unknowns about auto-ungating, but I think one thing everybody can agree on is that it goes off of sales metrics. So as long as you're selling well and you're not just storing inventory in the Amazon warehouse and it's not moving, you'll get auto-ungated eventually. Now, this could be in 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months, maybe a little bit longer. It just depends on the individual seller. It just depends on their sales metrics. Now, a lot of people don't stick around to get auto-ungated, which is actually a good thing because the majority of the people aren't going to want to sell for 6 months to get auto-ungated and then get all of these categories and subcategories unlocked and have so much more potential for your Amazon store. So that's better for you if you do stick around, because there's not as many competitors in those more difficult categories to get into. Because as long as there's more barriers of entry, there will be less and less competition. Now I get it. All of the new sellers hate all of these gated categories, subcategories, gated brands, gated ASINs. I get it. You just want to show up and sell anything and everything, just like I did. When I first started, I wanted to sell anything and everything, and I felt like I was gated in everything and I couldn't sell anything. But that's not the case. You don't need to be ungated to build a profitable Amazon business. You will get ungated if you stick around, but you don't need to do it right away. You can still find those fast selling products with great margins. I know because I found them. A lot of my students are already finding them. But if you look at it as a long-term business and you're planning on sticking around, which I hope you are, then you will realize that gated categories are the best thing that could have happened, because the more barriers there are of entry, the less and less competitors there will be, which makes it better for all of us. More profitable products and less competition is always a good thing. All right, so now let's get into how to get ungated in brands and all of the different things that you're gonna need to know in order to get ungated on the first try. And then after that, I will tell you how to get an invoice from your supplier without having to pay for the products up front. All right, so the first obvious step is that you need an invoice from an authorized supplier. I'm assuming everyone knows the basics, right? When you go to apply for a brand and it tells you need an invoice containing 10 units, the purchase of 10 units, and so on and so forth. Here's a screenshot of what it's gonna look like. Okay, it tells you to include your name, your address, include the name and address of your manufacturer or distributor, show the combined purchase of at least 10 units, and you can show the price or not. And then it tells you, please note that we may verify submitted documentation by contacting product vendors you identify in your application. Okay, so we all know that. And most people will tell you, just make sure your invoice has this and you're gonna be good to go, which couldn't be further from the truth. Amazon has a lot of hidden things that they require from you and your invoice in order to approve you. If you don't have all of these things in order, then they will not approve you and you will get your application denied. And on top of that, they will not tell you why it's being denied. No matter how many times you ask, they will tell you it's proprietary information and they do not have to disclose it with you. So they'll keep denying you. They could possibly deny you for the exact same reason and they will never tell you why. So luckily for you, you're watching this video and I've probably made every mistake in the book regarding invoices, applying for categories, applying for brands. So I can tell you I have a lot of pro tips that I'm going to share with you in order for you to avoid all of those mistakes. So before anything else, you do want to make sure your invoice meets the minimum requirements that Amazon tells you, what we just went over, that screenshot. Okay, so you want to make sure your invoice meets all of those requirements right off the start. But you should already know that and you should already be doing that when you are applying for brands. Now, the first pro tip that I'm going to give you is in the optional comments that Amazon allows you to add to your application after you upload the documents. Make sure to always include your sales rep's name and a direct phone number to them, whether it's a business cell phone or a phone number to their desk. Amazon seems to be calling suppliers more and more lately to verify the sellers that are applying for these brands in order to make sure that they're legit. I know because my suppliers have told me, hey, I just got off the phone with Amazon, you're gonna be good to go. Okay, so just make sure that you always add them. Amazon doesn't tell you to do this and they don't require it, but Amazon is doing this more and more lately. Pro tip number 2 is that your invoice should always be finalized. You need to show proof of payment. Some suppliers, you will purchase your inventory and they will send you the initial invoice that they created to show you your order, but it's not a finalized invoice. And if you don't know that it's not a finalized invoice, you're gonna upload that to Amazon and they're gonna tell you it's no good. So you always wanna make sure that it shows proof of payment, which means at the total due, on the very bottom, it says 0. And some suppliers will tell you, oh, you don't need that, you don't need that. You do need that, okay? So make sure you get it finalized. No pro forma invoices, no summaries of your orders, finalized invoice. You should always be getting these anyway. All right, so pro tip number 3 is that your invoice cannot be in editable format. So if your supplier sends you an invoice through an email and then you just grab that email and send it directly to Amazon, if it's an editable format, then Amazon will deny it, okay? So the reason they do this is because they don't want anybody forging invoices to get ungated if they're not legit, okay? A good rule of thumb that I think you guys should follow is you print, scan, submit, okay? So get the invoice, print it out, scan it back to your laptop. Now it's gonna be in a PDF, and then submit it to Amazon and you should have no issues. Now, pro tip number 4, this one gave me a ton of headache with Amazon. I was going back and forth with Amazon for probably 2 weeks about an invoice and they would just continue to tell me it's proprietary information. we don't have to tell you, and we're not gonna tell you, okay? So this one is very valuable. Your invoices ship to and bill to addresses must match, and they must match the address you have on your Amazon account. So whatever business address you put on your Amazon account, that's the address it needs to be. Now, I know you're probably saying, well, I don't want to ship it to my house. And I get that. You don't have to. We're going to get to that. But your bill to address can't be to your business. And then your ship to address can't be to the Amazon warehouse. Even though that's what we're going to do, we're going to find a way to work around that. I'm going to tell you about it. But just know that your ship to and bill to address has to be the same. Like I said, I went through a huge battle with Amazon about this, and I probably changed everything on my invoice that you could think of. And this was the one that got it accepted. It was the ship to and bill to address, because obviously we're buying it from our suppliers and we want to ship it directly to Amazon. But if you do that, even though it's an Amazon warehouse, they're gonna deny it. Now, pro tip number 5 is that it just depends on the person you're dealing with. Not every Amazon employee is created equal, and sometimes it's just that employee that keeps denying your application. And if you upload it a little bit later on, a couple hours or the next day, it may be accepted. I've uploaded an invoice and got it denied, and then I've uploaded that exact same invoice 3 hours later, no changes made, and it got accepted. So I got ungated. Right? So it just comes down to that employee you're dealing with sometimes. All right, so real quick, let's go over getting the invoice from your supplier so you don't have to ship it to your house and you don't have to pay the products up front when you're trying to get ungated. So obviously we want to avoid sending products to our house as much as possible because we don't want to have inventory here, right? And you can do this one of two ways. You can request a mock finalized invoice from your supplier saying that you've paid for 10 to 15 units of the product that you're already going to buy. Get that mock finalized invoice. It's going to be a fake invoice that they provide to you so that you can get ungated, and then you can go and order more products. So let's say you're trying to buy 200 units of a product, right? But you're gated and you need to get ungated before you buy all 200. Talk to your supplier, see if they can do a mock invoice, and you're going to do a mock invoice for 10 to 15 units. And then after you get approved, you'll go back and buy 200 units, okay? You want to make sure you have a good relationship with your supplier if you're doing this, because a lot of suppliers have been burned in the past from people just trying to get ungated. And if you're really trying to develop a good relationship with your supplier, then you want to make sure that if you say you're going to do something, you do it. There's no better way to build a relationship with your supplier other than being trustworthy. Saying you're going to do something and then following through. Now, the second way that you can do this is if you buy 10 units and then you have your supplier hold on to them until you get approved. Most suppliers don't have an issue with you doing this as long as it's not excessive, right? As long as you're not holding the inventory for a month at their warehouse when you've already paid for them. But this is a very low risk option for them to help you with this because you've already paid for the inventory. If you end up not taking it, or you don't pick it up, or you don't get it sent to your house, you've already paid for the inventory. So most suppliers will be willing to do this with you, okay? So you just buy 10 units and then you say, can you hold them for me? You should be able to get ungated within the week. A week is pretty long to get ungated, okay? So you should have no issues doing that. And then you don't have to pay for all of them and you don't have to ship them to your house. And if neither of these options work for you, then you will have to send it to your house. But the one that works the most is if you buy 10 units and you just have them hold them for you, okay? That one works all the time. I don't know of any supplier that I've asked that has told me no. Now, I know this video was a lot longer than my usual videos, but it was just a ton of information to cover to make sure that you guys have all the information you need in order to be successful when it comes to ungating. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful, and if you did, make sure to like the video and drop me a comment down below to let me know that you found this helpful so that I know that you guys are getting value. Now, if you want to know how to find suppliers that carry name brand products so you can go and resell them on Amazon, then make sure to watch the video on the screen or check down in the description where I've made a playlist of different methods that you can use to find suppliers. I'll see you guys in the next one.